It's a fishbowl and get business.
I think you can unmute now. There you go. Cool. Test it out online here. Can you guys hear us online? Can someone type in the chat if you guys can hear us?
We can hear you.
Cool. Thank you. All right. We're ready to get started.
Oh, this.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Al. Cool. All right. Thank you. I'll let you get started. Hey, everybody. We're ready to get started. Thanks again. Oh, fun. Thanks again, everybody, for coming in today. We're super happy to be here. This is Mike Wise from the Boston Blockchain Association. Been an excellent mentor to me, one of many other students in Boston. So it's all yours, Mike.
All right, good. Well, thanks for having me, Bennett. Always good to be here. I don't know if you noticed, but I bought a Northeastern swag. Oh, see? So my wife will be wearing this tomorrow, I'm sure. She always wears my stuff. So yeah, Mike Wise with Boston Blockchain Association. I'm the head of partnerships, which means I'm trying to get companies like Fidelity and State Street and Liberty Mutual and companies like that to come and sponsor the BBA and pay, fund essentially the BBA, and then organize meetups and the things that we do to create value to the ecosystem. The BBA has a threefold mission statement. Does anybody know what it is? Anybody do any homework before this event? So we're trying to promote blockchain technologies, establish Boston as a global hub of blockchain, and bring educational resources to the community. So the community consists of developers, venture capital, startup, entrepreneurs, enterprise incumbents, educators, and students. How many of you were in the Gateway to Blockchain program last summer? Just two of you? Okay. So next summer, Bennett's going to be leading it tentatively at this point, but we're going to do it again. And it's an 8-week deep dive into the whole gamut of blockchain. It's awesome. The people that come in and speak every week are real deal blockchain people. So I would encourage you, if this is an area of interest of yours, join that group. You'll get a certificate at the end, and you'll be blockchain certified by the Boston Blockchain Association. So what I'd like to do today is go through a few slides about what blockchain is and answer any questions that you have along the way, whatever those might be. In fact, I'd like to write down as a precursor, what are some of your interests coming into this event tonight? And maybe somebody could shout out, what people might say online. Any particular points of interest that you hope are going to be covered tonight?
I have an idea like blockchain and crowdfunding. So how does that like?
Blockchain and crowdfunding.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm a big fan of NFTs.
Mhm. And so what do you hope we might talk about in the context of NFTs?
Some applications. I know a little bit about gaming NFTs, the applications for the gaming industry and obviously digital artwork. But maybe some other applications that people are thinking of that I might not be aware of.
Mhm. One of the first ones that I remember hearing NFTs about was 2.5 years ago. And it was all around real estate, tokenizing shares of real estate. Yeah, I'm very interested in NFTs as well. Anybody else?
There's one line that says DeFi and DAOs, how they're being used to maintain treasure.
DeFi's and DAOs.
The metaverse.
Yeah, I'm just studying the metaverse now myself. I'm hopefully going to be participating in a metaverse conference in Miami in November. So that'll be interesting. That's a new thing. DeFi, decentralized finance, and DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. Okay, well, we'll try to get to that. Anybody else? Yes.
Statements,
Which one?
statements, like cross-border payments.
Okay. Cross-border payments. Awesome. You just told me about a new cross-border payment company today. Try to remember what it was. Yeah, I was involved in that space for a little while with a company, a startup. Okay, well, I put together this presentation and let's see if I can put it to work. So the first thing that I often talk to people about, hey, can I get rid of this Zoom? I can never figure out how to do that while I'm sharing. Let's stop sharing. Okay. And then let's play. See if that works. Okay, cool. So what I've done, so a blockchain consortia is a group of like-minded companies or affiliated organizations that come together to create synergies that benefit the whole organization or the whole ecosystem. So these are some of the consortia that are organized by category, by industry. So for example, in the insurance space, B3I is located in Switzerland, and it's helping some of the insurance companies in that area of the world with standards around blockchain development and protocols. And they're also developing blockchain solutions that can be used by all the players in the consortium. So some things in a business are not necessarily proprietary and develop a competitive advantage. Does that make sense? You guys tracking with that? Some things are not necessarily proprietary, but they have to be done and everybody's got to do it. It's a pain in the neck. It's a lost thing that the companies have to do, like compliance or reporting, that type of thing. And so it's great to have a consortia that does that. So I put this up there because if there's a particular industry that you think you might want to go into, healthcare or financial services.
Wow. It's still stuck on our screen. There you go. Okay, cool.
That's working better?
Yeah, there's up in the base.
Okay.
No, no.
Okay. And then we have some other industries as well. So these are, if you want to do accounting or manufacturing, supply chain, pharma, if that's an area of interest of yours, what I would encourage you to do, and I'll send the slide deck in a PDF form to Bennett to share with you, but write down these consortia. Because if you go to their websites, you can do the research on what exactly they are doing for their industry for blockchain. Does that make sense? Is there anybody that's interested in any of the industries that I just shared? Anything that resonates with you immediately? Okay, well, raise your hand if it does. Okay, so the DLT impacts. I wish I could move this. Let me see if I can move this menu bar. Yes. Okay. So, just at a very high level, these are the things that people are talking about the most. Blockchain and distributed ledger technology are interchangeable words. So the great thing about the blockchain architecture is that the data associated in a transaction, you know what, I'm gonna talk about that in a second. I'm gonna get back there. But these are at a very high level. These are the key factors associated with blockchain that people are generally talking about. Transparency, immutability, security, censorship resistance. Does anybody want to take a shot at what that might mean? Censorship resistant. Anyone? Anyone? Bennett?
Since blockchain is a decentralized system and there's no one point of attack or no one point of control, so you cannot essentially censor the data stored on a blockchain.
Or the actors that are operating in the blockchain. That's the key thing is censorship in Facebook or Twitter is a well-known phenomenon. And because Facebook and Twitter have all the power, they call the shots. So if you say something that they don't like, they can kick you off. That's censorship. And blockchain is better equipped to resist that central authority. These are two big ones here. Auditing is a function that really has to be done whenever you're dealing with transactions. Companies like Deloitte, PwC, et cetera, that they have an entire business around that. I don't know if you know this, but I just found out recently that there are over 1,000 employees in just the Deloitte Boston office. And all they do is go around and audit companies' books to make sure they're in compliance and they're not cheating, et cetera. So wouldn't it be great if you had the auditing mechanisms associated with a company or an industry built into the blockchain architecture so that the system just flagged the transactions that are not compliant. And that's all the auditor has to look at. Everything else just is fine. And it's trustworthy because it's immutable. Somebody can't go back in and change the data. Can't happen. Does not happen. So that's an interesting dynamic for auditors. Same thing with compliance. Government agency that wants to make sure you're not disclosing personal information, that type of thing. So those are some of the top benefits of blockchain. This is a good example, a UK insurer that uses blockchain for business efficiencies. One of the things that I talk to people a lot about is better, faster, cheaper. Blockchain is oftentimes better, it's oftentimes faster, and it's oftentimes cheaper to run. So that's what a lot of companies are looking at. Legal & General is a big insurer in the UK, and their core objective is to turn revenue-draining technology and processes into revenue-generating technology solutions. So if you think about an insurance company, they've got a massive book of insureds, customers that they're insuring, and they have all this data on all of those companies or people. Well, they could sell that data. Obviously within certain guidelines and protocols, but they can do that. So, but it has to be immutable. It has to be transparent, et cetera. And that's really hard to do with the current technologies. With blockchain, you can. So that's just an example of one insurance company. So a lot of people, any questions so far? Any questions or comments? So a lot of people will say that blockchain is a fad. And this is really helping to understand where blockchain kind of fits in the grand scheme of things today. So here's a bunch of Web 1.0 technologies that you all know and love. In the 2000s, it was social, local, mobile. That was the big thing, Web 2.0. And now we're getting into Web 3.0. So these are trends. Notice how they're going much more rapidly. That's the age of computing. So the new generation, cryptography actually started in 2009. So it's not new, in case anybody says, oh, it's a new thing. We got to wait till it matures. No, it's not new. Smart cities and connectivity, IoT, all of those things started in 2011 and in there. Now they're mature. People are using IoT for Teslas and lots of different applications. And now we're into Web 3.0, which is the intersection of blockchain and IoT and AI and all of the edge computing, all of the technologies that are spawning out of all of this. So you can see that it's not a fad. It's just part of the next iteration of technology. Any questions on that? So what is blockchain? This is a four-part explanation. So the first part of blockchain is the elements of a block of data. So the first thing that you need to have in a block of data is you need to have a verifiable source of the information. You've probably heard the term garbage in, garbage out. If the data that's getting into the system is bad data, then what difference does it make if it's immutable? It's just bad data. So that's typically people, places, and things. Who or what is involved in the transaction. Then you have the transaction information. What actually happened? What was bought? What was sold? What was allocated? What was shipped? What happened during the shipping process? What port did it go through? You know, these are all collection points of information that get added to the blockchain. The hash is the key thing. So the hash takes the data that's in that block and encrypts it into a random string of alphanumeric characters. That's the hash. That's so important in this. The chain is the hash of the previous block. That's the key. So just think about it. This is what makes the immutability. Because if somebody tries to change the data in the previous block, well, remember how the hash, how is the hash created? It's created by encrypting the data inside that block. So if the data is changed, the encryption is no longer valid. Does that make sense? So if somebody tries to hack in and change a piece of data, well, you know, that wasn't really, you know, I didn't really buy that. Or, you know, that seller was, you know, a bad dude and I want to change the data. I want to reverse the transaction. Well, that's going to change the hash. And if that hash changes, that then changes the hash of the next block. So it throws the whole thing off. And you can't do that. So that's the secret sauce of the elements of a block. Item number 2 is where we actually get the data. And this is where we're connecting the data into the blockchain. APIs, automated programming interfaces, are connections to maybe an insurance company's database. An Oracle is a great example of weather data. Air traffic, flights, those are oracles where, you know, Delta, United, all the different airlines, they upload their data into a master database of flights. So if your flight is canceled, you can use the app, right? The flight tracker app, and it tells you your flight was canceled. That's all coming from the Oracle associated with flight information. Same with weather data. There's this new trend in the insurance industry of parametric insurance, where, for example, a flood policy, the policy is based on the amount of rainfall in a zip code or in a particular geographic area over a particular time. So if there's more than 3 inches of rainfall in 3 hours, that's considered a flood. Well, the weather database has that information. So they're not dependent on a policyholder to say, oh yeah, I got flooded. Okay, so covering the last mile. Item number 2. Item number 3. So the distributed, the network, that's the key thing. So here's an illustration of a conventional network versus a blockchain network. So a conventional network, all of the different nodes are uploading their information into the centralized database. So think about this. If you're a hacker, which network would you rather hack into and why? What's your comment? This one?
Yeah, absolutely. All the information is centralized, so I don't need to hack into one thing. It's relatively simple.
Exactly. So he said you can just hack into the centralized one because it's a much simpler target. The attack surfaces are smaller. Whereas if all the data is on all of these networks. In order to effectively hack them, you got to hack them all. So that's a good example of distributed versus and decentralized. So I just said the entire database, all the data for that blockchain network is on all the nodes. All the data is on all the nodes. It's a huge difference from a decentralized setup. And then the nodes confirm the new blocks. So, for example, so what's your name?
I'm Nick.
Nick? Nick. I love that name. Nick's your buddy. There's a movie called The Sure Thing with John Cusack. And he says, you know, he's having this discussion with his girlfriend, and he says, well, are you gonna have kids? Yeah. And what are you gonna name them? I'm gonna name him, what did she say? Something like, you know, Lewis. And John Cusack says, Lewis? What kind of name is that? You wanna name him Nick. Nick's your buddy. You can throw up in his car and he won't get mad at you.
Maybe not so much that, but yeah.
Okay, so you all heard Nick say that his comment was that the centralized database is easier to attack, right? You all heard that with your own ears. And it happened at 7:32 in the northeastern room of blah, blah, blah. So that's the data associated with that event. Let's say you're all on the network, you have a node. So that information comes to you and you hit approve. Yes, that's what happened. So that's a good example of consensus. So we talked about three of the four. The last one is tokenization. So there are two kinds of tokens. There are security tokens and there are utility tokens. I'm going to show you a quick video. I hope this comes through the Zoom. How will we know if the audio is coming through the Zoom?
The share or unshare.
That's gonna make you restart it. Yeah.
Oh, it's just a permission. Hang on. Okay, good. Are we good? Should we give it a try?
Yeah.
Oh. Try it?
Yeah.
Are we sharing?
Come on. Yeah. We'll see if it works.
Okay.
I'll share the slide.
These are YouTube videos that you can easily, I'll share the links to them as well. So the first video describes the security token. Just a quick, I think, 3-minute video.
Asset tokenization is where you take a real, tradable asset like real estate, shares of a company, or a piece of art, and then represent that on a blockchain network by issuing a digital security token. These tokens can then be traded between sellers and buyers. So the tokenization of assets can be thought of as the breaking up of whole assets into shares, known as tokens. There are a lot of advantages when it comes to asset tokenization, One of the big ones is that asset tokenization
Okay,
makes trading
finally.
a much more flexible process. Another is that it's beneficial to the preservation of certain types of assets. But how exactly does asset tokenization?
So security tokens are tradable and secure. A security token would be like, Ethereum. Although that's a little bit confusing because Ethereum is also a utility token. So tokenization and the tokens of a network are what gives that network value. It's the things that you can buy on through your wallet and trade and save and share and so forth. So I often am asked, if you sign up for reward points with an airline, or if you sign up for Starbucks, their app, and every coffee you get a few extra points, and eventually you can get a free coffee. That's kind of like a security token, except you can't give that to anybody else, right? You can order a drink for somebody if you happen to be in the right place at the right time, but I can't give Jeremy my Starbucks points. So it would be much better if Starbucks went to a token, and they will.
Utility tokens and security.
That's another video about utility tokens. So that's kind of the essential things that I want to share about blockchain. Is that helpful? Did you learn anything? Okay, what'd you learn? Let's go around the room and everybody say one thing they liked or took away. One thing. Yes. Nick.
Frankly, I'm going to acquire knowledge. So, in the broad sense, I learned what blockchain is, but in a more specific sense, how it's used technology, more secure, more efficient.
Okay, so takeaway was security through blockchain. Yeah, I will say, and I saw you raise your hand too. I will say something that I've always said to people. And this is the term, if you want to know what's going to happen in 5 years, it's quantum computing. And the future generations, right now we're in blockchain 3. Typically, that's what people will say. Bitcoin was blockchain 1, we're now in blockchain 3. Blockchain 6 will provide post-quantum resilience. Post-quantum resilience. So in other words, guess who's probably going to get access to quantum computing first? The good guys or the bad guys? Very well could be the bad guys. That would be a bad scenario. That's a James Bond movie. And so if that happens, you're going to want to have your core data on blockchain because it will hopefully at least give you a fighting chance against quantum computing attacks.
Yeah, that's.
Wait, hang on a second. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Yes, back there.
Oh, yeah.
What was one takeaway? Or you were going to say something?
Yeah, no, so one takeaway for me, I've done 2 co-ops and audits, so the one thing that's going is the efficiency with like blockchain and auditing potentially. And right now it takes a while to audit a company, and it's getting better, but there's a lot of ways that like the computers can miss some transactions and stuff, and it's a lot of human like interaction with the transaction. So that's like one thing that I know that the future of audit is trying to get those transactions back like maybe potentially risky, but right now it's super hard to find.
Yeah, awesome. Hope everybody heard that, but blockchain gives the ability to essentially program the audit to flag out of compliance transactions. So that's a huge win for everyone. Yes, what's your name?
Jack,
Jack.
one of my takeaways is similar to what they were saying in terms of accounting. I didn't understand or really know that blockchain can really be useful for an accounting firm in terms of auditing stuff. So that's pretty cool. I was gonna ask, when quantum computing rolls out and becomes, when quantum computing,
Is broadly applied.
just like develops further, will that become a problem for blockchain technology? Because will quantum computing, in essence, do you think make cryptography hackable?
Well, that's the concern. And that's why they keep developing new generations of blockchain protocols with deeper and deeper and deeper cryptography. So that is definitely a concern, Jack. And the problem is a lot of decision makers don't know that. So study, Jack, study quantum computing and become an expert in that. When you graduate, you can research who needs somebody that's got background in quantum. I haven't done anything, but I know something, and maybe I can join a team and be the GSD guy on the team. You guys know what GSD is? Oh, you got to know what GSD is.
I know.
Yes.
Is that for debt shift on?
Yes. Get stuff done.
My bad, guys.
Unless it's Friday, and then it's get shit done. Yeah, and so, it's an interesting thing, but you might even want to put, when you graduate and you're job hunting, the initials, what's your last name, Jack?
Miller.
Jack Miller, GSD. I guarantee you somebody's gonna say, what's that? Say, what's GSD? Get shit done. They'll laugh and you'll have it. Yes, I'm the guy that gets stuff done that nobody else wants to do. And oh, by the way, I've been studying quantum computing for the last year. What else have you learned? Yes, what's your name?
Rio with the city.
Rio, like the city.
Kind of like what Jack just mentioned, you mentioned a little bit like the security aspect. I have heard a little bit how secure it was, and help me visualize that, help me understand that more. The whole concept of having information, not in one central location, but in many locations, makes it just easy to understand. It would be difficult for anyone to find it or to get into it.
Awesome. So Rio said the whole decentralization concept and how that impacts the information security metrics of the data. Okay, great. Yes, what's your name? Sophia? Sophia.
I have a question, like, is blockchain so small scale that it can be done at home?
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, the question is, can you implement blockchain on a small scale? Sure, absolutely. Yep. You just need a coder who knows how to do it. Yeah. The economies of scale come in the larger the network. But yeah, absolutely. Sophia, do you like to code? Are you a coder? No? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. One of the things that's coming up in May of 2022 is Boston Blockchain Week, and there's going to be a hackathon. And so you can join a team and learn how to code. I'll tell you, Caitlin Long. If you guys don't know Caitlin Long, I call her, did anybody ever see the movie Aliens with Sigourney Weaver. Oh, you gotta watch this awesome movie called Aliens. Sigourney Weaver, she was also in Ghostbusters, if you remember that movie, you've probably seen that. So she's a very famous actress. She's about 6'2". And she's, you know, she's like a badass. You don't want to mess with her, especially in Aliens. Her name is Ripley in Aliens, and she fights the alien and wins, right? So I call Caitlin Long the Ripley of blockchain. Don't mess with her. Yeah, and follow her. Caitlin, Caitlin Long. She's out in Wyoming. She just started a bank. She's just awesome. But she'll say, the reason why I said that, to Sophia's point about scale and so forth, she'll say, learn how to code. So, anybody else? Come on, one more learning from tonight. Yes, which Leo.
Tokenization, I didn't know anything about it, and I didn't know there were two types of securities and utilities. So again, just reading, I didn't have a lot of like prior knowledge of blockchain, so just
New stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Tokenization, security and utility, awesome. Yes, back there, what was your name?
JP.
JP?
Yeah. I was gonna say the consortiums, I don't know what's together.
Yeah. How the consortia work together for a common purpose. Excellent. Yep. Jack?
At the end of your presentation, you said Starbucks, you think Starbucks is going to have their own token. So you go into a Starbucks and you're buying with their like Starbucks token, not the US dollar.
Right.
I mean, you use both, but
Yeah.
if you use like a token, if you're rewarded, like they'll incentivize you using the token.
Right. Exactly.
And then you think you'll be able to trade that token.
Give it to
like
Jeremy.
an exchange or send it from your wallet to
Somebody
else's
else's.
wallet.
Right. Exactly.
How do you see, I mean, I don't know, like, how would you see, like, why would Starbucks want to do this? Would they convert, when people pay in their token, are they going to convert some of their books from US dollars to that token? Or like, are they going to convert that token then to US dollars to pay their employees or further expand, pay their rent?
Well, that's a great question. And that's the question for the accountants in the room. Right. And it's probably going to be both.
Because maybe because when they create this token, they mint this token and they put out, say, like, I don't know, 100 million, a billion of these Starbucks tokens. Are they going to set some value to it? Are they going to tie it, like how the Tether or US dollar coin has a dollar backing towards the US dollar Tether stuff coin? So are they going to have like in a bank somewhere, like $1 billion and be like, okay, every token is worth this today? Or is it going to be intrinsic value, basically supply and demand? So what people are trading it as, that's the demand that it will be worth. It's interesting to think about if companies start doing this in the future.
And how are they going to do it?
Yeah.
So there's another good specialization that you could get into. Learn all about tokenization. So when you graduate from school, you can be a tokenization expert. And that's a real thing. This is not a pie in the sky thing. Expertise is all about what you know. There's data, information, knowledge, wisdom. So what you're just talking about there is knowledge, right? The data and the information is all about tokenization and markets and things like that. Knowledge is what should we do with that information? How do we apply it to our business? And so, yeah, I mean, so my personal preference about Starbucks beyond, aside, but if I could get Starbucks tokens and use them to pay for coffee, that would be great. If I could also use them and convert them to cash to buy a plane ticket with them. Right now, when I go in to buy coffees and I'm on their rewards program and I get a free coffee every now and then, I can't do anything else with that reward. I can only use it for Starbucks. So it's of less value to me. I can't give it to my mom. I can't do, these things. Why not? Because it's not fungible. I can't trade it or give it or buy it or sell it. I can only use it that way. So it's, by converting rewards and loyalty points to tokens, it just opens up a whole universe of new things. It's a great one. Anybody else? Is there anything online?
Excuse me, I have a question. My name is Tiffany.
Tiffany?
I'm relatively new to blockchain. I came here because my friends found it interesting. Earlier, you were talking about the blockchain consortia. To put it into perspective, could you give me an example of how blockchain maybe would work for either pharma or healthcare?
Okay, so let's say pharma. There's this problem in pharma called counterfeit drugs. And that's a big problem. People die because of counterfeit drugs. So how can we put the manufacturing information on the blockchain so that it becomes immutable, and then connect that information with the actual pills in the manufacturing process? So the pills come out, they go into the bottle. On the bottle is a label, and it has a QR code. So now, when I buy the bottle, I can scan the QR code and verify exactly where, when, the whole process for that. And if there's a problem, I don't buy it. So you're using the immutability of blockchain to eliminate problematic counterfeit drugs. And you're doing it very cheaply too. Notice that it's all automated right through the process. So that's a good example of better, faster, cheaper. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Are there more individuals needing these blockchains and solutions to these problems and selling it to these big companies as solutions?
Yeah, startups.
Or is it the companies themselves internally?
Well, so the question is, are people, developing these solutions and selling them to companies, or are the companies developing the solutions internally? And it's both. So companies like Liberty Mutual, you guys just had, oh no, it was in a different one.
In this round, we had Solaria Labs, which is Liberty Mutual's.
Solaria Labs, which is Liberty Mutual's in-house innovation lab. Most big companies have that. Although I will say that their reputation is innovation theater. What do you think that means? Think. What does innovation theater mean?
More for the shock value, less for the punch.
Okay, it's a good term, shock. More people use the word show. It's a bunch of, what. And, it's theater. They're not really doing anything. One of the things that we're doing at the Boston Blockchain Association, I'm working on a deal right now with the state of Massachusetts. So the state of Massachusetts has, for example, fishing licenses. Well, you know, there's really no money to be made in keeping track of fishing licenses. Who has it? When did they get it? How much did they pay? When does it expire? Where is it? What's it for? Right? It's just administration. So what the state wants to do is they want to work with the BBA, the Boston Blockchain Association, to crowdsource the blockchain solution for fishing licenses. So in other words, the state is going to write up a specification. Here's what we need. Here's the essentials of what we need. And they're going to bring that to the startups. We're going to bring the startups together in a room like this. The guy from the state is going to make a presentation on fishing licenses and what they need. The startups are going to say, I want to do that. How much are you going to pay me? Well, we'll pay $50,000 to the best answer, the best solution, or 100,000. So instead of the startup fishing for, a solution, they get an opportunity to compete for $100,000. In business, it's called a paid proof of concept. That's awesome. So it's called a reverse pitch. But that's what the state is trying to do. They're trying to outsource or really crowdsource. Somebody talked about crowdfunding. They're trying to crowdsource the solutions rather than hiring programmers to develop it in-house. It's better, faster, cheaper. How hard is it to start your own blockchain? Well, if you're talking about your own blockchain protocol, it's extremely hard. If you're talking about your own blockchain network using a protocol, it depends on how complicated it would be. So for example, I just gave you a blockchain solution for fishing licenses. Well, you got to remember, if Massachusetts has this issue and you solve it, guess what the very next thing you're going to do is? What are you going to do with that solution? Yeah, we got 50 more states. They probably have the same things, right? Same problems. So 50, 50, 50, 50, 50. That's very profitable. All you have to do is configure it for the state. So I hope that answers that question.
Well, you should tell them about the research.
Oh, okay. Cross-border payments is a really good application of blockchain because you can do it from wallet to wallet. It goes from me to you. Right now, to send money to somebody in some other country, I've got to go through this whole network and everybody's taking their cut. So by the time you send $20 to somebody in India, they get 10. And it sucks. And it takes 2 weeks. So digital currencies, it's right now, and there's hardly any transaction fees. I don't know which network to use. So it's a huge issue. It's a huge opportunity, cross-border payments. But there's compliance and anti-money laundering, and there's a whole bunch of issues associated with that also have to be dealt with. Anything else? It's 8 o'clock. I think we're good.